If we are one, when do we finally, once and for all, bring our world back into spiritual balance and harmony? How do we go about doing this in the midst of the current turmoil and destructive energies that are causing so much pain, fear, and strife in our world today? In our last episode, we talked about the escalating madness and normalization of tyranny and authoritarian ideology taking place around our world now. We also brought to bear a greater collective understanding of our true power and how by awakening into the mastership of our own fate, we can and must now answer a spiritual call to action to serve as a true catalyst of this change. By raising our collective spiritual vibrations higher and higher through mindful meditation, prayer, and affirmation practices, we can ultimately raise the collective vibration of our planet so as to bring into physical reality the new age of enlightenment and peace that we all seek. But if we are one, what does this ultimate energetic shift feel and look like? What is the foundational energy that needs to come fully online to push out the old destructive ways of being and bring us all into a spiritual balance and harmony and self-actualization throughout our world and beyond? Hi, I'm Darrell T. Johnson, a musician, a teacher, and a QHHT hypnosis practitioner. I would like to welcome you all to episode 8 of If We Are One. Hello everyone. Thank you so much for joining me. In this episode, we are going to discuss the rise of the divine feminine and how earth energy is rebalancing itself from a predominance of masculine energy to a more balanced and co-creative feminine energy as we enter a new age of enlightenment on this planet. But as you can readily observe, this energy shift into the divine feminine is not transitioning without a fight. Many spiritual thinkers and energy healers today believe that Earth is undergoing a profound energetic rebalancing from a dominance of masculine energy toward a resurgence of feminine energy as part of the planet's ascension into a new age of enlightenment. This shift is viewed as global and personal in the transformational process. Now, there was a time in our human history when the world was in balance, when female and male energies were in complete harmony and true partnership, where balanced co-creation was the way of the world. But over time, and through calculated negative intention from what I would identify as the male ego, the energy was shifted from the divine feminine to a more masculine dominant focus. We'll get more into this aspect of things a little later. But first I want to talk about the qualities of masculine and feminine energies. According to established spiritual frameworks, masculine energy represents qualities such as focus, logic, control, and assertive action, while feminine energies embodies intuition, compassion, receptivity, and nurturing connection. Now, it is important to emphasize here that every person, regardless of gender, carries both energies within them. We carry both male and female energy within us. And I would also add that as spiritual beings who live in eternity, our spiritual energy is androgynous anyway. Ponder that one for a bit. Spiritual teachers often emphasize that every individual contains both energies regardless of physical gender. Balance between the two leads to wholeness and fulfillment. Imbalances can manifest into overly rigid, controlling traits when masculine energy dominates, or excessive, overwhelming emotion when feminine energy is out of control. The integration of these energies fosters creativity, spirituality, emotional depth, clear action, and connection. So to all you macho men out there, please pay attention and find your way back to divine balance. Human civilization, as far as historical record is concerned, has for the most part placed more value on masculine expression, domination, productivity, and competition. This has ultimately led us to the widespread imbalance we're now in. However, early societies often revered the divine feminine, evident in goddess worship and the honoring of nature's cycles as powerful and sacred. But over the centuries, cultural, religious, and political systems increasingly favored masculine traits such as assertiveness and rationality to the exclusion of feminine wisdom. To be clear, this was not a true increase in masculine power, but rather a reduction of feminine influence and authority, resulting in societal imbalance and ancestral trauma for generations and generations. There are many cultural examples of the divine feminine historically throughout our world. These figures were revered and worshipped, often embodied by powerful goddesses and feminine archetypes tied to creation, fertility, nurturing, wisdom, and protection. Venus figurines, such as the Venus of Willendorf, were created as long as 30,000 years ago across Upper Paleolithic Europe. These figures are believed to represent a great goddess of earth, fertility goddess, central to early spiritual practices. In Sumer, Mesopotamia, goddesses such as Inanna, also known as Ishtar, were worshipped as supreme deities governing aspects from fertility and sexuality to war and social justice. Ancient Egypt revered Isis, the mother of gods and a powerful protector who healed and nurtured. The Minoan Crete's snake goddess, central to religious practices, symbolized the regenerative power of the earth and female authority. These examples show how the divine feminine was actively present in early earth history, worshipped for nurturing, creative, and protective powers, often through powerful goddess figures at the heart of spiritual and societal life. As we discuss the nature of the divine feminine, it is very interesting and helpful to reference this understanding from the perspective of Gnostic beliefs. Gnosticism is central to both its cosmology and spiritual practice, representing wisdom, creation, and the pathway to enlightenment. The most significant embodiment of the divine feminine in Gnostic tradition is Sophia, whose complex myth articulates the feminine aspect of the cosmos and the divine order. In Gnostic cosmology, the divine feminine is not a mere counterpart to the masculine. She is the creative force and the dynamic energy organizing the universe. Gnostic beliefs illustrate a divine reality containing both masculine and feminine principles, where the feminine has an essential active role rather than being passive or secondary. This is markedly different from traditional patriarchal religious models and highlights the inclusive nature of Gnostic spirituality. Now let's talk about Sophia. Sophia is the Greek word for wisdom and serves as the archetype of divine feminine in Gnostic text. She's portrayed as the youngest aeon, dwelling in the pleroma, the fullness of divine reality. An aeon in Gnostic cosmology is an emanation or aspect of the ultimate God, a spiritual power or divine entity, not separate from divinity, but expressing its attributes. The pleroma is the fullness of divine reality, the eternal realm where all aeons exist in harmony, in contrast to the imperfect material world. In Gnostic cosmology, Sophia's desire to understand the unknowable source results in her descent and eventual manifestation of the material world. In her fall, Sophia gives birth to something known as the demiurge, which in Gnostic philosophy is a subordinate deity who creates and fashions the material world, but is viewed as flawed, ignorant, or even malevolent compared to the true supreme God. Sophia's journey symbolizes both creation and redemption, reflecting the soul's path from ignorance to spiritual awakening. Sophia's myth is a dual narrative of a fall into materiality and the hope for reunification with the divine. Does that sound at all familiar to you? Her descent typifies the soul's exile from spiritual fullness, and her redemption marks the possibility of spiritual ascent and gnosis, a direct knowledge of the divine. This pattern echoes the human struggle, loss of connection to the divine and the effort to restore that link through wisdom and spiritual growth. Gnosticism, and specifically the myth of Sophia, is a fascinating study and one I would encourage you to research on your own. The divine feminine is honored in Gnostic rituals, practices, and symbology. These communities embrace feminine principles, emphasizing inner wisdom, intuition, and balance in spiritual life. The Gospel of Mary, for instance, recognizes Miriam of Magdala, otherwise known as Mary Magdalene, as both a leader and transmitter of divine wisdom, a direct manifestation of the divine feminine. So with this understanding, let's briefly discuss the balancing of masculine and feminine energies. Achieving spiritual wholeness in Gnosticism involves balancing both masculine and feminine elements within oneself. The divine feminine is more than a mythological figure. It is a guide for personal transformation and enlightenment, embodying qualities such as intuition, empathy, and inner wisdom. This approach challenges patriarchal norms, advocating for equality and inclusion at both metaphysical and social levels. Now, from a more historical perspective, I want to talk to you about the role of women during the times of matriarchy, before the male energy forced its hold on society. Did you know that the first shamans on this planet were probably women? Yes, they were. I believe the first shamans. Archaeological and anthropological evidence strongly suggests that women were among the very first shamans, and in some traditions may have been the original shamans. Evidence for this can be found in places like Czech Republic and Bad Nuremberg, Germany, where they have uncovered burials of female shamans dating back to Upper Paleolithic and Mesolithic periods, some as early as 7000 BCE. The burial sites include ritual objects, animal bones, and evidence of shamanic practices, confirming prominent spiritual roles for women in prehistoric societies. Many indigenous cultures across Siberia, Central Asia, Africa, and Europe have legends and oral traditions claiming that the first shaman was a woman. Among the Tungus, the Buryats, the Yakuts, and the Kankatls, the shamanic role was often held by older, respected women. Some Siberian proverbs actually state, "Woman is by nature a shaman," pointing to a widespread recognition of feminine spiritual leadership in ancient times. Now, in societies that revered the divine feminine or a great goddess, spiritual leadership, including shamanic and oracular functions, oracles, was typically associated with women. Female shamans were known for their healing skills, divination, trance journeying, and connection to other realms, and their ritual garb often reflected the ceremonial costumes of later male shamans. This influence of female shamanic practices is cross-cultural. Female shamans and their equivalents are not limited to ancient Eurasia. Shamanka figures are found in China, Korea, Japan, the Philippines, the Americas, and Africa, often holding powerful positions in healing, prophecy, and magical practices. In many modern and traditional shamanic societies, women continue to play vital roles as spiritual leaders and healers. So there is substantial evidence that points to women not only being among the first shamans, but also in some cultures and periods holding spiritual primacy in these roles. So this brings us to the divine feminine from a modern day perspective. In recent years, many individuals are experiencing and facilitating a spiritual awakening that reconnects society with divine feminine energy, characterized by intuition, creativity, nurturing, and authentic emotional expression. Practices that honor and cultivate divine feminine energy includes intuitive movement, allowing deep rest, embracing receptivity and pleasure, and cleansing through water or energetic rituals. Again, this is not about the diminishing of the masculine, but about both energies rising together, restoring harmony and balance within individuals and communities. For me personally, the subject of the divine feminine resonates so strongly because growing up as the youngest sibling in my family, with one older brother and two older sisters, my greatest teachers and nurturers were these strong, dynamic, independent women. My father and I were very close, and I loved him dearly. But my mother was my whole world for most of my developmental years. She taught me so much and allowed me to have the freedom to investigate the world around me, sometimes on my own. She encouraged open dialogue on spiritual issues, challenging me as to the veracity of things that I had discovered. My sisters also, sometimes the bane of my existence, but most often were the most important people in my formative years. They kept me humble. They also valued my worth. nurturing me and showing me strong and unwavering sisterly love. As a result, I grew up with a clear understanding of myself and held the utmost respect and gratitude for all women in general. So with the rise of the divine feminine today, many teachers and seers describe the current phase as a global reawakening of the divine feminine. This resurgence involves a collective return to empathy, creativity, cooperation, emotional intelligence, and ecological balance. The transition is thought to encourage societies to prioritize sustainability, peace, holistic medicine, and equality while reducing harmful power structures that are rooted in patriarchy. From an astrological and numerological point of view, 2025 is a pivotal year in this shift. It is classified by some as the Year 9, symbolizing completion and karmic reckoning. In this cycle, humanity is believed to be shedding outdated systems and patterns to make space for higher awareness and equitable energies. Many spiritual commentators interpret global events, social activism, and climate awareness as manifestations of this deeper energetic evolution toward wholeness. So what can we do to ensure that the balance of divine feminine energy is restored on planet Earth? Well, in many respects, it comes down to two words: slow down. Embrace rest, intuition, and self-compassion. Commit to slowing down, resting, and honoring cycles of renewal, as stillness allows for intuitive wisdom and spiritual replenishment. Cultivate practices like meditation, mindfulness, and self-inquiry, which helps you tune inward and honor your emotional landscape with compassion rather than judgment. Practice self-compassion and gentle acceptance of both strengths and vulnerabilities. These are key to healing and embodying the divine feminine. Engage in creative and embodied expression, such as painting, journaling, dance, music, or any form of free-flowing, soulful art. Practices like intuitive movement and free dance specifically help you reconnect with your body's wisdom and access the healing power of the feminine. Connect with cycles and nature. Honor natural cycles, moon phase, sleeping and waking with the sun. Simply tending to nature as ways to restore harmony with the rhythms of life. Spending time in and connecting with nature helps quiet the mind, soothe the spirit, and realign you with the earth's nourishing, cyclical nature and energy. Rebuild supportive communities. Prioritize supportive, empowering relationships, especially among women, by participating in women's groups or circles that foster trust, collaboration, and honest dialogue. For men, value collaboration over competition. Listen deeply to others and cultivate empathy and compassion in personal and professional life. Community and collaboration are essential for restoring both individual and collective balance. Seek out or create spaces based on mutual support and upliftment. It's okay to integrate rituals and daily practices. There's nothing wrong with this. So incorporate small daily rituals such as meditative reflection, gratitude practices, self-care routines, or simply allowing sacred pauses throughout the day to connect with your inner knowing. Filling spaces with beauty, such as plants, flowers, or any sensory reminders of nature's abundance, can invoke the nurturing essence of the feminine. Restoring divine feminine energy is an ongoing multi-layered journey that begins within, but ultimately radiates out to create spiritual balance for the entire planet. And again, for you men out there working towards finding inner spiritual balance, acknowledge and embrace your feminine side. Practice emotional openness, intuition, vulnerability, and collaboration alongside your existing natural masculine strength. It will not make you less of a man, but more of your true self. Finally, I want to share a saying by Clarissa Pinkola Estes, a Mexican-American writer and Jungian psychoanalyst, who is the author of the best-selling book, Women Who Run with the Wolves. She says, and I quote, "God is not a he. God is not a she. God is the space between," unquote. Remember, as I mentioned before, as a spiritual being who lives in eternity, you are neither male nor female. You are androgynous. You make the gender determination when you decide to incarnate into this world or any other worlds that have similar gender distinctions. But as a divine spark of all that is, you are the space between. Find your balance. Live your divine truth. We'll be talking more about these and other topics in future episodes. And if there is anything that you would like me to discuss, or any questions you may have about things that I have shared, please feel free to mention it by leaving a question or comment in the comment section. As always, if you have found any of this information at all helpful or enlightening, please do me a favor and like, subscribe, and share with others. I continue to be heartened by those of you who are coming to this space. I hope you will adopt some of the practices outlined in this episode to enhance and bring into balance your feminine nature. I hope you continue to let more people know about this podcast so they can be a part of this ongoing movement to a oneness consciousness. So as always, I send you my love, and if we are one, let us all live in peace, love, and joy.